Hi everyone, my episode number 4 with Talks and Cakes, and today actually it's with my sister. My sister that in Arabic say like my sister that not from my mother, and she's my Mexican sister, so we are sharing a lot today.
Yeah.
And yeah, so hi Diana, how are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you excited to be in Talks and Cakes?
Yeah. Anything that involves you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have Diana. I feel like we always share a lot of things, and yeah, so we are recording this episode in Amsterdam, and I don't have specific questions because with Diana we just talk about everything. But yeah, I would love people to know like who is Diana. So for you, like who is Diana?
Oh, it's a big question.
Maybe it's a big question. Yeah.
No, it could also be a very simple question, but I'm an open book in many ways. I'm originally from Mexico, and then I grew up in the US, in Chicago. And I've been living now in Amsterdam for 5 years, where I met my husband, Yusuf.
Yeah.
Whom is the person that we met through, actually.
Right. And they also call him a brother, really.
Yeah.
Like, if I have a family in the Netherlands, it would be Diana and Yusuf. And Yusuf is Palestinian, Diana's Mexican. So it's my like international family, but also really my best family in the Netherlands. And we can talk more about how they become my family as well.
I've traveled, I've worked, and I think we've lived similar lives in many ways, very parallel lives, even though like we're from complete opposite parts of the world, but in many ways our lives have paralleled, like studying abroad, working abroad, and like trying to connect to our roots and bringing our roots to the places we call home.
I think really we connected with different stuff. Then we felt like that we are okay living similar experiences. Maybe really the fact that being in the Netherlands, I feel like I did also a job seeking visa and then entrepreneur. So we're really like, also as you said, like where we are coming from. I never thought that, okay, like I always knew in history how the Mexican would struggle with the United States or what is happening, but it would be something really very simple. Like I think we never really went deep into this. I think until this year, it is really like hitting very hard.
Yeah, we're the most hated.
Yes.
Yes. For some reason, the U.S. really hates Mexicans and Palestinians. We're not the most beloved to some.
No.
But we're the strongest to others. But I think this year we've definitely realized how connected we are, and like of course your experience is very different because I have a right to exist in many ways in the US being Mexican. Like Mexican Americans who are called Chicanos, they fought so hard to have the rights that we have now. Where sadly, like literally the right to exist is now being questioned for Mexican Americans or any other Americans now. But this is something that's been your reality your whole life. So, yeah.
And do you expect to get worse?
Yeah,
do you have hope toward this?
How do you have hope?
Yeah.
We have to
this
have
is like
hope. If we don't have hope, but right now I expect that it's only going to get worse before it gets better. Because even though I'm a U.S. citizen, like Trump said that he's going for. I forgot what the term he used is, but inbred or something like that. I think he said for going after, naturalized citizens or those that received it through the 14th Amendment, which means that even if your parents are immigrants, as long as your child is born in the U.S., you automatically become a U.S. citizen. So that's something that's being questioned as we speak right now in the US. And so even if you are a citizen, depending on the color of your skin and how you look,
they want to withdraw this.
They want to withdraw this. So who knows where things will be? It's only been 6 months of the presidency of the current president, and so we still have 3.5 years to go
through that.
Yeah.
Yes, and you also have family in the US.
Yeah, I do. My mother lives there. My sister and my whole family, half of my family. Some live in Mexico, some live in Chicago, and another California, and other parts. But I'm fortunate that most of my family, in many ways, are documented. But even those that are undocumented, it doesn't matter because no matter whether you have the correct papers or not, they're still arresting people in the process of doing it the right way, as they say. And at this point, there's pure discrimination and racism openly.
And okay, maybe you don't, but do you know, like, maybe how many Mexican, like, what is the Mexican population in the US?
Oh, it's, I wish I could say, yeah. Well, actually, I just recently read that the US is the second most spoken Spanish language, is the second most spoken in the US, aside from Spain, like outside of Spain. So this says a lot. And I wouldn't just say Mexicans, but Latin Americans, Hispanics, so Spanish speakers. So there's a large population of Spanish speakers in the US, and it's not just Mexicans, but from Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, all living in the US who are US citizens. But right now, everybody is being questioned by the ICE immigration office. Yeah.
Okay, maybe when you were a child, have you ever felt this?
Yeah, my whole life.
Like, was it ongoing?
This is why whenever I'm asked who's Diana, I always say, like, I'm Mexican, like I'm Mexican American. Like there's a term for me, Chicano. It's an activist word that's been used to empower, because growing up in the US, for me, the US that you now see, that the world is now being exposed to, is the US I've always lived in. For the Black and Brown community, this has been a reality our whole lives. So when I was born in California, but then I moved back to Mexico. And then when it was time for me to start school, I went to Chicago with my mother, and she was undocumented for most of my life. So every day going to school, we had to make sure that there was no cops. So when she would be driving, we always, if there was a police officer behind us, we had like almost like a call. There's a police, la policía, and then everyone had to, double check the seatbelt, position was showing, not to turn around, not to act suspicious. On our way to school, on our way to work, on our way to eat, to get groceries. Whenever there was a police, it was panic. Like, there's a police right next to us, don't say anything, don't do anything, just keep looking. And like also going to school with the fear of my mom being deported every day.
Yeah, of course. Really, I could imagine. It's really not easy. I don't know, like, to live. I mean, like, okay, also like in Palestine, you're also under the stress. But I don't know, really, like, I feel like for us being raised that, I don't know, like, we are like, okay, we're like in our homes or not in our homes. We have this anxiety, that someone else is coming to take us from there, and not like to allow us, I don't know, to live just a normal life. As you say, like, you mentioned something basic, just going to school as well. A child, like, you're not seeking something more than your basic life rights, So I feel like, yes, for us who lived with the experience that in our old places where we were seeking life, we are under the threat that someone is going to come and grab us away. And just, I feel like, it's, for me, this is the top of dehumanization in humanity. And I think really just showing the fact that you said about, like, Trump with his policy and how he started already with a Mexican, it is saying a lot that maybe I think the world was blind about this. as you said, it has been the reality for the Mexicans in the US long time
way before.
But it's just like people are seeing it now.
Yeah, now you see everything. But the sad part is you see everything and people still don't believe it. Or
they don't talk about it.
Or they question it, and they also agree with it. The world, well, in the US right now, everything is immigration. It's all centered on this idea that we're taking jobs, when in fact we are the jobs. We are doing the
even
job.
Without you in America, they would be
that's why they have a day without Mexicans. There's we make without the US, you wouldn't have without Mexicans, you wouldn't have crops that you have now. Most of the farmers are Mexican Americans, and this is something that is very difficult because we are undervalued as well, overworked, discriminated against. There's so many slangs and negative words used to call Mexicans, discriminatory words, and it's very difficult.
Yeah, that's really tough. I mean, I'm not surprised from the US. I feel they've always had this picture, against Mexicans, Palestinians, all the other people around the world who are not white. So it's not surprising, but it is too much to deal with. I don't know, even for our generation, it's too much that we grew up with this. Now we have to deal with the most difficult part of what we are going through. But okay, thinking about this, I think of your specialization and anthropology, and also the good news that you shared with me, that you are going to start your master's in Latin studies. Would you like to share more about it, and maybe what inspired you to shift, from your career to go to studying again and to go specialize? You can share with us.
I mean, it's very connected to just the beginning of our conversation, like everything, where I always questioned my sense of belonging since I was a child, being born in California, then being sent to Mexico, then being taken from Mexico to go to the US to study, being told my privilege since I was a kid, you're a US citizen. I was always compared to my cousins, and as a way of, Diana can do this, you can't. So imagine you're 5 and you keep hearing, Diana can do all of this. And the comparisons with my cousins who were undocumented, and they've been told at 5, you can't do this, but Diana can. And me, instead of seeing it as like, oh, why can't my cousins do it? I always took it as, yes, of course I was angry that my cousins couldn't, but then I also used that opportunities, and I said I should do it just as much or even double because I can do this. So I always pursued education. Education was the key. I'm very grateful for my mother that she always pushed. Everything was for my education. If I had a bad grade, I didn't cross the border so that you could get a bad grade. So once as I got older, I kept questioning, what does it mean to belong? What does it mean to be Mexican? What does it mean to be American? Because to the Americans, I'm not American, even though I have a bit of an American accent. Now it's all shifted, but and at least to some Europeans, I have an American accent, but to Americans, I do not have an American accent. And then to the Mexicans, I'm not Mexican. I'm from the north. I'm, as they call me, a güera, or like a white girl from, I didn't grow up in Mexico in essence. I was only there for 4 years of my life, from age 2 to 5, or around 6 years old. And so, questioning these, like, what does it mean to be Mexican or American? And then I found anthropology. And anthropology answered all my life questions. It gave me a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. I could question, and that's what the study is, understanding, why we do the things we do, why we say the things we say, and how to make sense of it all. And now, experiencing what I'm experiencing, being Mexican in Europe and going back home to Mexico, then marrying a Palestinian, having friends and family that are now Palestinian, and I realize the privilege I have to know where I come from. And I know where my ancestors are from. I know the house my great-grandfather built. I lived there. And when I recently went to Mexico, keeping in mind, what the Palestinians are going through, and also what now, unfortunately, Mexicans are going through in the US with openly racism and discrimination and deportations that are inhumane, which is in many ways the similarities and parallels that Palestinians are facing. And I realized, I need to understand my own country, my own people, to question all the questions I've had. They keep coming up even more when I'm in Mexico. When I ask my family all these questions, why do we do this? What traditions do we have? Why do we celebrate this? And my aunt, she asked me, what does it mean to be indigenous? Because the new Mexican president, she came out with a new program for indigenous Mexicans to receive extra funding. And so my family, we qualify for this indigenous program because of the area that we live in. We live in a very remote area. And my family, in many ways, they don't know what that means. And so they ask me, who comes, I'm living in Europe, having lived in Mexico for so long, having grown up in the US, they ask me, like,
what does this mean?
She asked me, like, what does it mean to be indigenous in Mexico? And as soon as my aunt said this, I'm like, this is my research question.
Yeah, that's really...
And I came back from my trip to Mexico from our wedding. We had a Mexican wedding. And I just got curious to answer this question for my aunt.
Wow.
And I applied and I got accepted to do an advanced master's in Latin American studies, where I'll be in Mexico for 3 months doing field work and interviewing my family and relatives and asking them about their upbringings and their traditions. And even if they don't know, asking around to say, hey, how did we come to practice this? Or where did we lose that because of the Spanish colonialism? There's so much mix. And so that's something that I want to go and answer and throw in anthropology in there, because anthropology also plays a big role in the indigenous communities in Mexico.
Really, and I feel it's timely significant, that it's really like, it's just happening in the right time, because I feel like maybe things would escalate, and then it's really very interesting. So good luck, really. It's also exciting. I feel also even if we come to Europe, maybe I assured on this as well, like a previous podcast, that okay, we're here and we're working really on our ambitious or the things that we want, but at the same time we want to take this for our homes and for our families, because also we are here in the part of like the expats. We are not really even we live here for so many years, we integrate and we do like influenced by the life here, but still I feel like we do stuff because we just go back home and we want to try. Well, that's really... And also for your work, you tried as well, like to use your study in your work, because with Diana as well, we shared the idea of that we work together in seminars, education, that it's focused on these topics as well, that we are always advocating or like raising our voice, to the people who their voice are being put down, or like that they don't want the world to know or to hear about them, or just because they, from a white perspective, those people are less than us. And how did you find it to work in this topic in addition to academia? So I feel like in academia, we get, as you say, like you get to choose what you want to work on. So it's like you choose your research topic and you will get the support that you need from your teachers or professors with this, and also like the material. But how is it to work in this field, like as an advocate, if you advocate activists, because we met as activists as well? How is it in your experience?
I think I've done a good job at finding the spaces to use my voice. I didn't know I had one. like it wasn't until I went to India and I did some I worked on public health and I was a volunteer, and I came with this big realization because I had to speak up for someone else because they were being belittled and mistreated, and I realized like I have to use my voice to speak up for others, like when they can't, also when they have no voice. And that's when I realized that it's not my voice per se that's powerful. It's the fact that I even have one to speak up. And I experience different privileged perspectives to just being able to speak up. And since then, I make sure I have spaces where I can. I try to also find work that allows me to use my voice. Like I'm a teacher, and I work with teachers, and I teach teachers new methodologies of teaching, with working with diverse students from different backgrounds. Pushing the teachers also to get out of their comfort zone and talk about inclusion and go beyond diversity. Because a lot of the teachers, they have students from all different backgrounds, and they struggle working with the students because they also don't know. They weren't trained in many ways to deal with the issues that some students may have when it comes to their social economic background or their status or the language they speak. It wasn't until they received Ukrainian students that suddenly the world realized that there are bigger issues than in education, at least as well, because the teachers are getting students from all over. But it didn't become a conversation until they had Ukrainian students, because there tends to be a bit of more empathy towards a certain type of student versus another one. So you can see that I find my activism in my work, like every little thing that also just the volunteer work that I do. Like I'm the director of Via Netherlands, which is the Dutch branch of Service Civil International, who you work with as well. And so I get to work with teachers, talking about the importance of inclusion, and then on the side, I get to do small passion projects through Via Netherlands that allows me to share and give people platforms and voices to talk about things that matter in the world.
And how do you see your experience with VIA? Like, do you find the space where you're like, doing, as you said, like the things that you're passionate about, was like working in the Netherlands, like in the Dutch communities, and how do you see your experience?
Yeah, I really like it, especially from the Dutch perspective, and learning about the role that the Dutch volunteers have had within SCI and their importance on solely being volunteers and giving back, not just to other communities outside of the Netherlands, but even locally. And I'm really grateful for the work we've been able to do, and we have great Dutch liaisons that are still around. They used to be part of VIA from the 90s. And they're very supportive and still in many ways involved. So it's very nice to know that in the Netherlands, at least, we can speak up. And it's of course, times have shifted, and now it's a bit difficult to say, can you openly, freely speak up? But you can, use your voice, and especially like in the Netherlands, with Via Netherlands, we work a lot with the undocumented population, and that's always been something that the Via volunteers have done. So it's nice to also support those that are not from the country to be in the country.
Yeah. Of course, really, and I find it like, I think since I also came to the Netherlands, I feel there's a quietness in the country. Maybe it really comes like, I don't know what to say, that it's also, I don't know, there would still be difficult stuff, undocumented people, asylum seekers, discrimination, all this stuff, but still, I feel like if we are in the community, like in the Dutch communities that are pro peace stuff, then you find like good space to speak up, to share. And I feel they are honest, really. Like, they are honest about their willingness, their interest in peace, like it's not superficial. If I compare it to other countries in Europe, if they talk about peace, I find that no, really, they're not interested in peace. They're interested in their own interest that would come from the fact that they're talking about peace, or like showing the world that yes, they want peace. It just, if it doesn't serve their interest, it's not, they don't want it. I saw this differently in the Netherlands because, like, yesterday I was in The Hague, and so they have this activity for Palestine that they do it 24 hours, reading the names of the martyrs people. And I never thought really, like, for us, the Jewish in Palestine, they hold Dutch citizenships. Really, like, we have a song in Arabic that so many of the settlers came from the Netherlands. I understood historically how this worked, but so that's why I thought, like, also as a Palestinian, the Netherlands, they don't recognize Palestine, and like all this paper work and this stuff. So yesterday in The Hague, I really noticed that it's the Dutch old people who are standing to read the names of the children murdered in Gaza. And they're doing this 24 hours. I think I saw a couple of Palestinian, but the rest are Dutch old people. And I was a bit like, I don't know, I didn't see this before, and so I didn't think it is happening. I know there's demonstrations and people are going out to speak about it, but I think also the Dutch, they stayed silent for a while until I think the demonstration that happened in The Hague, like Red Line. I think that moment that we realized, okay, there is a moment in the Netherlands. So yesterday I think this was something that really touched me about. So then it made me overthink generally what does it mean in the Netherlands, like, to stand for peace and this stuff. However, I feel like in every country there is this and this, and there's some like people who would look for their interest, but it's actually just but talking about Palestine, I know, or like the situation, or like the starvation and the genocide in Gaza. I know that also you are trying very hard and actively, which is also a moment that I would also like just reassure and appreciate that you have been really like very brave to continue, like, because I feel your anger toward the people who are not speaking up for Palestine. Because I think whenever we meet and whenever we talk, you just share with me like how it's difficult for you that you would be the only one in the group who want to talk, who want to advocate, who want to continue just like mentioning Palestine, like not to forget about what is happening across 2 years. And how do you describe this? Like, how do
I
you
cope with it? I mean, same reasons that you speak up, right? Like, like you don't have to be Palestinian to speak up about the Palestinian issue. If anything, like, this is where the expression of "we are all Palestinian" comes from, and the idea that we all want to be free. And for me, it makes no other sense. Like, if I don't speak up, I'm going against my morals, my values, everything I believe in. And also because in many ways we do share similar struggles. And also the fact that, my husband is Palestinian, how am I not to speak up for what I know is true and what I know is right? And it's I don't want to say that it's been hard or that it's not easy, because I know that I'm very privileged to be able to even speak up. And I don't take that very lightly. Like, I understand, like, my privilege, even though I'm Mexican, and I do have a U.S.
Now you have another also struggle, like.
I live in Europe. I'm in Amsterdam. Like, I'm relatively safe here. I understand my privilege of also where my voice comes from, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I will lose my job. I'm very fortunate that where I work, I'm very supported. But if I were to say Free Palestine somewhere else, and they would say
you might be fired.
Yeah, but I would leave. I would gladly get fired for saying Free Palestine. And the thing that makes me more saddened is that when you do work with peace organizations, there's a lot of superficial peace work happening that in the spaces, right? I understand sometimes when work says this isn't the time or place to be political. I can have an argument about it.
Yeah.
You can see the passion. I can have an argument about it, but then when you're in the circles of a peace organization where you're supposed to talk about it, because we without conflict you cannot talk about peace, and vice versa. And so I make sure, that I'm in whatever space I'm in. The thing that makes it exhausting is being an ethnic minority, having to speak up when you should have allies. And it's the white allies who should be speaking up, who choose not to, and then it becomes the burden on the ethnic minorities. When you work in peace organizations or in many activist spaces, when you are with your white counterparts and they have an opportunity to use their voice, they don't, because it tends to fall on the ethnic minority to speak up and call it out.
Yeah.
And to say, hey, you're either not doing enough, or you have led me to be the person, to be the one to have to take on the extra burden to speak up. And that to me is what's more difficult. Like saying, putting my life on the line for, speaking up for Palestine. I don't care. I will do it in a heartbeat. But what angers me the most is
like others who have the opportunity to really speak up, because also they will be heard more than us. Really, like it's the space is theirs. And we are like, I don't know, like it's really, which I really don't understand. Also, which I don't understand even more, that saying that, okay, we are advocating for peace. What kind of peace we are talking about in time of a genocide, starvation, displacement, really? Or like, massacres and much more, or like, or like slaughtering, or I don't know, erasing the indigenous people from existence, Yeah, it's really, I just don't know what to say, but I feel like we're gonna just keep calling them to speak up. It feels, it is changing a little bit, but the change is very slow.
Yeah, it's very slow.
And it's taking too much time and too much energy, really. Because if I look back at us maybe 2 years ago, when we started, and today, I don't know, I just come to the question, like, do you feel tired?
Of course. Of course, but not as tired as a Palestinian in Gaza right now.
Yeah.
My tiredness cannot even compare. I'm not tired of speaking up. I'm tired of people not speaking up.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that is, it's an exhaustion of, how do you not see? How can you look away? And how can you justify the killing of children? That to me is what hurts, and what's exhausting is seeing people not care.
The silent or justifying. Really, the justification is like, I couldn't, like, for me this were like, it's like having an exam, and it was an exam for humanity and it failed. And there is no pass anymore. I don't know what, because I don't think they will pass. Even if it happens to another people in another country in the future, I feel, okay, who's silent today, they're gonna be silent tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, silence is complicity, and there's that's what's exhausting. It's also just how late people are now realizing. Now that Israel can't hide the famine they created, and
no, it's in front of everybody.
And now slowly people are beginning to speak up, and I'm glad. I'm of course, better late than never, but
of course,
it's just it's sad that it's been over 660 days, and people are now just realizing, and I see it on my social media feed that now people are posting, and I'm a bit harder on my Mexican friends and family because they should have been speaking up from the beginning, because we can relate in many ways to the Palestinian struggle, and yet they choose silence.
Even today, for me, it's really today more than before, is the Palestinians and Mexicans are sharing.
Yeah. And they're protesting, and I'm glad that they're protesting against ICE and everything that's going on in the US, and many, of course, protesting along with the Palestinian struggle, but then many were not before until now, and and again,
I think because there was a brainwash in Mexico, or it wasn't something that it was mentioned.
Well, you have to remember the distinction between Mexican Americans, right,
and the
Mexicans in Mexico, right? Because the Mexican Americans, they're protesting for what's happening with the ICE and deportations and immigration.
Yeah.
And many are undocumented. Many are not considered Mexican Americans, right? They are undocumented, so therefore they just hold one citizenship.
Yeah.
And then let's say those that they hold the American citizenship, but they're of Mexican descent, they have an extra layer of course, privilege because they have a US citizenship, but also they are speaking up against what's happening to the undocumented Mexicans living in the US. And then, of course, you do have Mexicans in Mexico. From at least my circle, I know, are speaking up.
Yeah.
Because they understand that struggle, and they don't have to live in the US to feel it, because the border is there. That hatred is there. And regardless, that is one thing I can say, is that Mexicans, no matter where you are, that you're the US's enemy.
Okay.
Right? And there's this understanding, yes, there's opportunity. That's why people risk their lives to move there. But you have to work really hard to
and that's what you mentioned to me. It's better economic situation. You told me the economic situation in Mexico is really tough.
I mean, some families, they solely rely on their families in the US sending money back to Mexico. This is why the new Mexican president, she created a new program also for Mexican Americans to have a debit card in Mexico that also works in the US to be able to send money easier.
Because they would also cut this, the Americans, to cut every opportunity that would keep linking between Mexico and the US.
Yeah, the limitations, because you do get investigated on how much money you send, whether you use Western Union or whatever means you're using to send money back and forward. And the idea is this would limit that sort of barrier, but there's a lot of criticism still behind it. But it is something that we know is there, that there are Mexicans in Mexico, that in the US, that are undocumented, still even sending money back home, even though they themselves are undocumented.
But they would still, I feel like they would care, It's like if their families are in a tough situation.
Yeah. Well, it's like in many ways just how, Palestinians want to return home.
Yeah.
So do Mexicans.
Same Mexicans. Yes.
Many cross the border with the idea that I'm going to make enough money
and
to
just
return and fix my home or build a home. But then you get caught in the routine, and then you work long hours, you're exhausted. And
even the system of work in the US, you have to do 2 jobs in order to be able to sustain your life.
And there's systemic racism, so you get paid the low, minimum wage, and so you are working so hard that by the time you can't even save up anything, you can't save up to build your home in Mexico. You save up enough to survive.
Yeah, because you pay here and you pay there. You're paying in the price in 2 places, and it's same for Palestinians who are living abroad, and also they have to support. And I know also you were really supporting the Palestinians for supporting their families back home. So I know, like, for you, you're very familiar, like, of how is it really also for Palestinians who are going in something similar. So yeah, it's also really something that I appreciate so much of calling you a sister. Is really that support that you gave to Palestinians or to anyone around you. Really, I know that you give to everybody, not necessarily Palestinians or Mexican, but you give a lot to Palestinians. And really, so hopefully one day we'll have you in Palestine when it's free. And yeah, just thinking of Yusuf, how do you feel like being married to a Palestinian?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know that this will happen.
No,
When you met Yusuf.
When we first met, we barely talked about where we were from. We didn't even know how old we were. Nothing. We talked about a book when we first met.
Oh,
So we met through a book. But it wasn't until I met my father-in-law that I was like, oh yes, I'm marrying into a Palestinian family.
Yeah.
In many ways, yeah, our cultures are so similar. It's very rooted on family.
Yes.
And so it's nice to know that we do have that similarity in cultures. At least him and I, we share the same values. And I think both him and I, we are so, also the way we relate to Mexico and Palestine is quite similar.
Yeah.
Because we both didn't grow up in the countries that we are from.
Right.
Like he grew up, even though he's also Danish, he grew up in the Netherlands. And then I grew up in the US, even though I'm Mexican. And so we both feel, you know, this strong connection to our roots, but then there's also this disconnect at times where
you were born and they grown up.
And then we question our sense of belonging. But this is something I love and adore about the Palestinians, that whenever I see Yusuf with other Palestinians, everybody's like, you're Palestinian, like you're our brother, we adore you. And I love seeing how much love and in many ways reassurance he gets that he's Palestinian. To hear that from another Palestinian means the world to him. And there's no, like, you know, even if he doesn't speak Arabic, like, people still, you're Palestinian. We see it in you.
I can see it, you know. I don't know if it's the small things that I notice in Yusuf, the way that he eats, the way that he cares around. For me, like, these things as a Palestinian, I know that
the sweets. Palestinians love sweets.
Really, like.
Hence the name of your podcast.
Yeah, that's okay. That's right. Even, you didn't meet my father yet, but even for me, when I see Yusuf, I see he's very similar to my father. I didn't meet his father yet to know really how his dad looks like. But I know that Yusuf looks like, you know, like the forehead and this is just like, I just feel like I met Yusuf in Austria, and when he said Palestinian, I was just, okay, I'm just 100% sure you're Palestinian from
just looking
at him, that he just reminded me that he would look like my father when he was young. So yeah, I think it's really it's really nice. Okay. Yeah, also you something related to this, you know, like how you met Yusuf and how you really like shared. I feel we always together, like we discuss about the healthy relationships and how did you find this, like with Yusuf, that okay, we said like you matched on something that maybe socio-cultural, political, like the origins, and but more than this, how did you think that these things made you connect more with Yusuf, or it's also more your personality and his personality matched more than what, like, how say, what I mean, more than what you have been sharing, that you have home, but also you were born outside of your home, and the sense of belonging.
Yeah, I mean, we have, even though we grew up, again, very different parts of the world, very different, we also have very similar stories. Like, he moved when he was 5. I moved when I was 5.
Oh,
You know, and
so do you believe in soulmates?
I don't know if I believe in soulmates, because I think we have multiple soulmates in many ways. Like there's different people that come into your life for different reasons, but I believe more in destiny.
Okay.
You know, that like you're destined to be together. That is something I feel like, yeah, like destiny brought us together because we met during COVID. I was supposed to be doing field work in India, but then COVID happened and I stayed in Amsterdam to do my field work and I met him. And but yeah, we have these similar upbringings. Like he grew up with a single mother, I grew up with a single mother. You know, like these sort of things that just we relate to each other. But also we're very different, like complete opposites in many ways. Like I'm quite disciplined and studious and, you know, very serious at times, and he's very stoic and playful and yeah, he's calm, and I'm Latina and loud, and you know, sometimes a little too loud for him, and but
you say this what attracts people to each other. It's like opposites, they attract each other.
Yeah.
It's like so I think this is really
maybe
this is also what balance the relationship, you know, from different aspects.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that like the similarities of our upbringings, the similarities of our cultures, but we also we have the same ideals in life and what we want for our future children, and that's like something that drew me to him when I realized, oh, he would be a good father. Like that to me, it's like, oh, okay, this is someone I can be with. Like more the idea of, will he be a good father to my children, and a good husband.
Yeah, that's good to hear, really, and I'm so happy for both of you. Maybe something clicked now in my mind during our conversation. Maybe I never mentioned actually before, or never asked before. Is, do you think ever, if the situation, okay, if Palestine got free, maybe we could look at the podcast so many years later, when Palestine is free, or when Mexico is also free from from the US stuff. Would you think ever that you would move to one of these countries with your kids?
I do.
Like move to Palestine and live in Palestine, or move to Mexico and live in Mexico?
Yeah, I genuinely do think so. This is why I think me going to Mexico to do my studies is a step in that direction, because both of us will most likely have our children out of a country that, you know, we're not from. Like this is why we're also moving to Denmark, because Yusuf is Danish. His mother, you know, was Danish, and so Danish is a big part of his country, his culture and his upbringing. So we know that our child will hopefully be born in Denmark, but then they have this identity crisis of being Palestinian and being Mexican in Denmark.
Yeah.
How are they going to connect to their roots when, you know,
they are born somewhere?
Yes, exactly. They're gonna already struggle to fit in being Danish, even though they are Danish or they will be Danish because of their grandparents.
Yeah.
But for me, it's so important that my children will be connected to their roots. So I will raise them speaking Spanish and going to Mexico. And, you know, Arabic is a language that both of us want to learn at some point. That, you know, because we do plan to visit family in Palestine at some point. Because
I really recommend. I think you would find a lot of similar. I have never been to Mexico, but
you will.
I'm hoping that Mexico would be my honeymoon.
How about you come visit me?
Or I come visit you when you are doing your study. I would love to.
Yeah.
I think I don't need a visa to Mexico. So always taking over the visa. I think I don't need the visa to Mexico.
I hope not. I hope Mexico doesn't require visas for Palestinians.
Yeah, I think with Latin America we have.
We do have an ambassador of Palestine in Mexico.
Yeah, and the recent, or like recently, the current president also called something in solidarity with Palestinians, and I think it was good.
Yeah, but she could do better.
Yeah,
It's still unclear.
Everyone.
Yeah,
really.
if you have to question where someone stands with Palestine, then they're not standing with Palestine. And there's a lot of activists that are calling out the current president of Mexico because she could do better. And we expect more from her, not just because she's a woman, but because we trust her. But that's what I also hope to learn when I go to Mexico is how do Mexicans really feel about the current president of Mexico, because they are experiencing her policies in real life. I'm reading about it, right? Because I'm not there. So I'm reading about, what her actions are. And they on paper, they sound incredible. She's quite progressive. And I really admire her. But I also don't live in Mexico enough to know how much are her policies really affecting Mexican people. And so that's something I hope to find out for myself and hopefully live in Mexico longer than, I've lived in the Netherlands longer than I've lived in Mexico, which is hard to say. But
maybe I really hope that in our time, that we would experience really good times for our countries. But we lived here maybe for education, for the purpose of even working for our countries. Like you're working for Mexico from the Netherlands. Sometimes also as Palestinians, we say this, like you get a bit more space to work for your own country from abroad rather than if you're there. So maybe like if you're in Mexico, you wouldn't do much as what you would do when you're here.
Exactly. That's why I meant like I don't take my privilege lightly. And it's sad. Sometimes you know more about your country when you leave it.
Yeah.
Because people ask you all the time, like right now, right?
Yeah, like where are you from?
Yes. And then they want to know what do they eat? What do you do? What and so you start to find out, or when I go back home to visit, like I learn every time about my upbringing, or they tell me stories of me living there and my family, and so you can never generalize, right? Like just like Palestine, you don't compare people from the West Bank to
like Gaza or the occupied territories.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Well, okay, that's really nice. And I really enjoy our talks a lot. About where we come from, what we do, and what we are really ambitious about. I don't know how long did we go, but part of the talks is that we have cakes as well. And I asked Diana, what is your favorite cake? And you told me like red velvet and something vegan as well, and the chocolate cake. So I think I combined both chocolate and red velvet. So I made the cake red velvet chocolate together, and I hope you like it. So this is our piece of cake.
Take a bite of our cake.
Yes. I didn't try it until our podcast, so. So the question about the cake, why did you choose the red velvet or the chocolate, your favorite? Does it like call something in your mind, maybe a memory, or do you like the taste, or how do you become to like it?
I think I don't know how the first time I had red velvet, I can't recall, but I know that when I learned that red velvet is just chocolate cake.
Okay.
Like they use some of the same ingredients. I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And I just love chocolate cake. That's my favorite. But if I can have an alternative, it's red velvet.
Okay.
And my wedding cake was actually red velvet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you did your wedding your way as well, like how you like it. And okay, what would maybe, and we can also like maybe end the podcast with this. I don't know, maybe something you would like to share with the world, or like with everybody who would watch the podcast and maybe listen to our conversation and what we talked about. Something, final thoughts or final things that you like to share with the public.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're doing is incredible.
Thank you.
Like finding the space and time to still meet and talk to other people, because what you're dealing with right now and everything you have to carry on your shoulders is it's so heavy, and it's a relief to know that you can still wake up and put a smile on your face and bake someone a cake,
and just sit with people
and talk, and you still find ways to connect even though you're shattered and your heart is broken for your people. And I think that's like what I mentioned about having a voice is like, even though your voice is being oppressed, like there should be people in your life speaking even louder for you, that you speak loud and proud. And, and that's what I hope that people that come across Palestinians, or they don't have to even come across what you see and what you hear, you need to speak up. And I hope that people will speak up even more, and I hope that they have more empathy in this world, because people lack a lot of empathy, and I just hope that we have more people saying free Palestine.
Yes, I really hope so, and thank you. Like always, as like, for me, myself, and I know also my people are really proud also to have you part of our family, part of our people. And I really appreciate really like everything as well, like you do for me, for my friends, for the people that we know, for everyone around really, that comes from your solidarity. And I'm always reminded of, like, you're always in my thoughts of how the world let so much anger inside us. So I feel like really shattered, but I also saw this on you. So this, I feel like, what make me always like, now I feel like I don't call you Diana anymore. I was just to call you Sis, because I feel like
we were to call each other by our names. We just say Sis.
Exactly. So I feel like maybe it comes from this, that I also saw this part of you, that I want to be proud, and so I hope that also you continue. I'm very excited for your new journey of the masters and what you're going through, what you're going to do. And I hope that we can record another episode one day in Mexico, or
in Palestine.
With this thing. So that was it. But really, thank you so much, Diana. Well,
my pleasure.
And my sister and my Palestinian Mexican family.
It's an honor to talk to you.
Same for me. Okay.